found two men's footprints on the ground outside my house. I immediately sensed trouble, and there was also a pile of cigarette butts nearby, indicating someone had been staking out the place for a long time. My wife was often home alone, so I immediately realized the problem. I quickly grabbed the gun from my car and ran toward the house, racing through a patch of dense woods to reach the perimeter. On the trail, I saw more footprints, confirming that intruders had entered the house. I immediately chambered around and crept inside stealthily. Music was playing inside, but my wife was nowhere to be seen. I frantically searched everywhere. When I reached the bedroom, it was completely trashed with blood splattered on the walls. Clearly, a fight had taken place here. I quickly called my wife and learned she'd been severely beaten and hospitalized. She weakly told me that shortly before I returned home, a large man had suddenly broken in. He said nothing, just searched everywhere. When he apparently found nothing, he flew into a rage and beat her badly. My brother-in-law also told me the attacker was extremely brazen and made no attempt to disguise himself. After the assault, he left in a green taxi. Looking at my injured wife, I swore to find the perpetrator. The only lead I had was the green taxi, so I decided to use that as my breakthrough. The next day, I drove around the city searching. Soon I spotted two green taxis and noted the company name on their doors. That evening, I went to the taxi company and pretended to ask the night clerk for help. While he went to open a door, I quickly pulled a mask over my head. When the door opened, I held him at gunpoint and forced him into the office. I accessed the company's computer and pulled up all vehicle operation records. I found that one car had been to my area before I returned home and discovered the driver was a young man named Leo. I then went through the driver files and found Leo's ID photo. Although I had the information I needed, I didn't leave immediately. Instead, I scattered office documents everywhere to make it look like a robbery. Early the next morning, I waited outside the taxi company. When I saw Leo drive off, I followed him. After he parked and waited for passengers, I approached, pretending to have an emergency and need a ride. After getting in, I gave him a random address. We hadn't driven far when I quietly pulled out a handgun and motioned for him to look back. Seeing the gun, he was startled and thought he was being robbed, so he voluntarily handed over his wallet. I had no interest in his wallet. Instead, I asked him about the trip to my house 3 days ago. It was a long-distance fare, so he remembered it clearly. He told me that after the passenger left the airport, he got in the taxi. When they reached the destination, the large man told him to wait outside while he went into the estate alone. About an hour later, the man came out and returned to the airport. He told me everything he knew, and to save his life, he promised to leave me the taxi.